Hello and welcome to this live webinar. My name is Dr. Warren Leslie Chalklin and you are watching a Facebook Live event where we will be learning to build a Salesforce matrix report in 5 easy steps. If you've just joined me, please write in the comment section your name and where you are from. Throughout this webinar, I'm going to be essentially looking at the comments and engaging with you throughout this process. If you've just joined us, my name's Dr. Warren Leslie Chalklin. I am a former Salesforce consultant based in New York City. I'm now based in Cape Town, South Africa, and I am so excited to put together this Facebook Live event for you. I see some have joined us, so if you have, this webinar is going to be building a Salesforce matrix report in 5 easy steps. So please remember to write your name as well as where you are from in the comments section, and I will reply to you right over there. So we're going to take a few minutes before we get started. I know many people from all over the world in the United States and India and as well as Africa are joining us for this Facebook Live event. So we're going to take a few minutes to get started. In the meantime, I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing, who I am, and the kind of transformations you can expect over the next hour. So, my name is Dr. Warren Leslie Chalklin. I am a Salesforce consultant. I am also an online instructor who has over 76,000 students. So I've been teaching face-to-face and online, and I have 12 Salesforce related courses. I'm really excited to share this with you because I am working a lot with people all over the world who have questions about the Salesforce report. So I decided to put together this Facebook Live event to tackle the matrix report, which seems to give people a few problems. I developed a framework where you can learn how to run a Salesforce matrix report in 5 easy steps. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. If you've just joined us, please can you write your name as well as the country that you are from in the comments below, and I will reply to you as we go through this class. Thank you for joining me. So, what are we going to be doing today? Well, the first thing we're going to be doing is I'm going to be introducing you to the 5 steps that we take to run a matrix report. We're then actually going to build a matrix report from scratch, following the 5 steps. And if you have Salesforce, it would be helpful for you to have it open so you can follow along. And I welcome you to this webinar. By the way, if you've just joined us, please write your name and the country that you are from in the comment section below. I love to hear from you, and I promise to reply as we go through. After we've done that, I actually have an opportunity for you to learn more by joining a Salesforce Bootcamp that I have put together. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But we will end with a Q&A where you will be able to ask me any questions you might have related to Salesforce reporting, dashboards, administration related things. I'm happy to stay a little bit later in this hour. We are going to end on time, but I will stay online in case you have any questions about the content that you learn in the next 45 minutes to an hour. Finally, if you have just joined us, welcome. I've just given the introduction. These are the steps we're going to go through. I will introduce myself a little bit. We're going to go through the 5 steps. We're going to build a matrix report, and I'm going to introduce you to a bootcamp that I'm running, and then we're going to have a bit of a Q&A. Welcome to you. A little bit about myself. I am Dr. Warren Leslie Chalklin. I'm a passionate Salesforce consultant. I enjoy working with Salesforce. And in my role as a Salesforce consultant, I often train people to use Salesforce reports and dashboards. And so what I've done is I've put together this webinar to teach just the basics of the matrix report. I teach online as well. I have over 76,000 students online and face-to-face. And I also have 12 Salesforce courses where I put this knowledge into an accessible format. So, enough about me. Let's get to what you're going to take away from today. In the next hour, you will brainstorm a report with a framework that I will provide that will make this process easy for you. The value for the next hour will be: one, you will learn how to brainstorm a report. You will then learn how to transform that brainstorm into a report, and finally, change that report into a matrix format. That's the steps we're going to be taking. So step one is to brainstorm your report. Step two is to streamline your data by inserting fields and filters into the report. And then in step three, we add the matrix format to that report. And finally, you end up in a happy state because you have built a matrix report. That is what we're going to be doing today. We are going to be focused, razor sharp, and efficient with our time. If you have just joined us, by the way, my name is Dr. Warren Chalklin. I'm excited to have you. Please introduce yourself in the comment section. Welcome to you. Okay, so this is what you will learn. Let's dive right in to the 5-step framework. I encourage you to take a screenshot of this particular framework to keep with you. And essentially it's made up of 5 steps. Step number 1 is to brainstorm your report, to begin with the end in mind. And what that means is that you have to be very clear about the question you want to answer. So a report is essentially an answer to a question, right? How many sales did I make? The report will help you answer that question. How many accounts do I have? Leads, contacts, these sort of pieces. A report is an answer to a question. And so step 1 is to be very clear about what your question is. Step 2 is to set up your report. When you set up your report, you're thinking about cleaning it out, making sure that your filters are ready to be edited and your fields are ready to be edited and that you have saved your report. Step number 3 is to add in your fields and to filter your information. And this will also help you get very clear about how you are answering your question, okay? In step 4, we then group our information into a matrix format. We don't do that at the beginning. We actually do that in step 4. And then step 5 is where we actually refine this report in a matrix format. And so those are the 5 steps we are going to take. Let's begin with step number 1. In step number 1, we brainstorm our report. We figure out what question we want to answer. And once again, I recommend that you actually screenshot this slide. We begin by thinking about, in one sentence, what question do I want to answer? And notice here, I want to see the number of contacts by city and by state. That's the question that I am trying to answer. What kind of report is this? Well, because we're dealing with contacts, a helpful report is the contacts and accounts report. Okay? So our question guides us as to what report type we are actually looking for. And then we need to make sure that we can actually group this information. Grouping information is the power of the matrix and summary report format. We have to be able to have a y-axis and an x-axis. And that is what helps us group our information and makes a matrix report possible. Okay? So it's very important that we have contacts and state, for example, an X and a Y. It's important to think about your working title. Okay? A working title will help you get very clear about the sort of things you are looking for. In other words, contacts by state. You also might want to think about additional detail that you can add. For example, mailing state. Okay, mailing state is something you might want to add to that. And so it's important to put that in. And then finally, what do I want to see on the columns? So the rows are mailing state. In the columns, I might want to see state names, and I might want to leave out blank states or cities. So any data that doesn't have a state or a city is going to be excluded. So I've already thought through these questions, and often step 1 can take the longest because we're really thinking through what we want our report to look like at the end. Okay, so I'm going to show you exactly what my report actually looked like at the end of building it, just so that you can get a good understanding of what the end product looks like. Some of you in this Facebook Live might be interested in what a matrix report actually looks like. This is exactly what it looks like. It has the state. In this instance, we're talking about American states, California. We have Texas here at the bottom. We then have cities at the top. And then we have totals on the side. For example, we can see that in the state of Texas, we have 73 contacts in these cities, and they are broken down specifically by city. Now, you don't want to see my matrix report, you want to begin to build your own. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. So step 1 was to brainstorm your report. Step 2 was to set it up. Let's go ahead and do that right now. So if I'm on the home page of Salesforce, remember, your home page might look different to mine. I am in the Salesforce Classic. What you might want to do is you can access your reports in 2 main ways. Firstly, which is perhaps the most popular, is to click on Create New and go down to Report. Another way is actually to click this plus sign right at the top here, to scroll down and click Reports. I'm going to do that right now. And then what I'm going to do is click New Report. Now, this is where the power of your Brainstorm actually comes into play. If you remember in the Brainstorm, we said, what kind of report is this? And so in this first instance, we have to select the report type. Here, I'm actually going to click Contacts and see what comes up. Immediately, I see contacts and accounts, and notice that that's exactly the same thing right over here. I highlight this, I scroll down, and I click Create. Okay, wonderful. So I have selected my report type. To set up your report, we need to clean out our report. So the first thing we do is we save our report. I'm going to call this Contacts by State. And I'm going to save this in Maureen's folder. Okay. The second thing I'm going to do is remove all fields from this report. And the third thing I'm going to do is make sure that this says all accounts, created date, all time. And I'm going to save this report. So by setting up your report, we're cleaning it up. We're making it ready for our engagement with it. So for those of you who may be seeing a report for the first time, a report has 3 core areas. We have the fields, which are pieces of data or pieces of information. We have the preview section, what we see, and the filter section, what we refine. So step 1 is we brainstorm our report. Step 2, we set up the report, is what we've just done. And step 3, we now begin to add in our fields. So let's do that together. We're going to first pull in what we want to see. And then we're going to filter it and refine it. So let's take a look. I know that I've done this report, the contacts and accounts. What I now want to do is begin to think about answering my question. So let me pull in information about my contacts. So first name, I can type in name in the fields. First name comes up, I can grab it and drop it in. I'm going to also drag and drop last name. Okay. I know that I'm looking for state, so I'm going to type state. In this instance, I'm going to click mailing state or province. Drop that in there. I'm also, remember, I'm going from my brainstorm. I have state, I also have city. So if I type in city, I can see it says mailing city. I can come and drag and drop this in there. Okay. And then I can move forward and make sure that I now begin to see I have city and state. I now want to make sure that I leave out blank states and blank cities. In other words, I am now ready to go to my filter section. Now, you can play around with your report. You can add information. Let's say I want to take out mailing city. I could grab this and drop this back. And if I wanted to bring it back, I could pull it and drop it back in. I can also take this same field, drag and drop it right here. And what this gives me is options. I can say equal to, not equal to, less than, greater than, less or equal to, greater or equals, contains, does not contain, and starts with. What I want to do is make sure that it says not contain, not equal to, and I'm going to leave this blank. And what that means is that if any of these are blank, then it's not going to pull that information. So I'm going to click OK. What I'm also going to do is notice that I have a blank state over here. And we said no blank states. I'm going to take this, drop it in there, and say not equal to blank. Now, if you have experience with reports, you might have said I should have done a cross filter there, okay? Or you may say that I should do this in a different way by saying mailing city should be equal to Burlington, Lawrence, San Francisco, Albany. I have done it the way that I have because I want to show you the matrix format. I'm not too concerned about the filters at this very moment, okay? My primary concern is to make sure that you are comfortable building the matrix format, okay? So I could have got to the same outcome in different ways. My key objective here is to focus on the matrix, which is step 4 of our report. So I've filtered my information, I've added my fields. Step 4 is to change this to a matrix format. And if I click on tabular, I can see that I have tabular, summary, matrix, and joined. If I click on matrix, notice what happens to my information. The first thing that happens is that I have a y-axis and an x-axis. And notice that it says drop a field here to create a column grouping. This means that if I go back to my Brainstorm and I see what do I want to see on the rows, and I want to see mailing city, I can grab mailing city and drop it right here. Notice what happens. The mailing cities emerge. However, on the y-axis, I wanted the mailing state. So I'm going to grab this, go right over here, and drop it. Notice what happens. On the y-axis, I have the state, and on the x-axis, I have the city. I can now run this report and notice what happens. We have the state and we have the different cities that the states are in. Now this information looks a little bit unwieldy. So what I will do here is click Hide Details. What that does is pull the information into a more accessible reading format. So I can see immediately that Tuscaloosa in Alabama has the majority of the contacts in Alabama. However, in California, these are distributed among San Francisco, San Jose, San Mateo, and in addition to Los Angeles. So what I can then do is begin to think about how my matrix report looks. So step 4 was to create the matrix format. Step 5 is to actually refine this. So what we can do here is, if we wanted to, we could click Customize. We can go right in here to mailing city, and we could sort this group, we could bucket this group, we could also remove this group. If we had a mailing state, we could also change this, the order of this, if we really wanted to, and push it so that the x-axis and the y-axis is different. All right? Now it doesn't make sense for me to do it like this, so I'm going to change it back. Notice how I'm changing it. I'm playing with the report, I'm refining it, which is step 5. If you have made a matrix report wherever you are, please comment for us, just with a yes, or you have learned something new from these 5 steps. Please put a yes exclamation mark in the comments, and I'll be happy to respond to you right about now, okay? So feel free, if you've learned something from these 5 steps, go ahead and say yes in the comments section. All right, wonderful. And our final step is to save our report. We have just created a contacts by state report by going through 5 simple steps. Let's talk about those in more detail. Firstly, we brainstormed our report. We clarified the question we wanted to answer. Step 2, we set up our report. Remember, we removed the fields. We cleared out the filters. We saved our report. Step 3, we added fields and filters to our report. We added what we wanted to see and how we wanted to see it. In step 4, we added the matrix format. We grouped the information by mailing city and mailing state. And finally, we refined and saved our information. We now have a matrix report. Congratulations. Now, you have learned to build a matrix report, but can you transform this data into a Salesforce dashboard? A matrix report provides us with details, but a dashboard provides us with a macro look at your data. So notice this donut right here. It tells us that we have a distribution by state, that 34%, for example, of our accounts are actually in the state of California. Now, that information is incredibly helpful if you are looking to target specific states. And so a matrix report gives you detail, and a dashboard gives you patterns, and patterns are what help you visualize your information. So a Salesforce dashboard summarizes volumes of stored information into an accessible and visible format. We can see the distribution of sales over time. It puts the complex data that we have in Salesforce into a very accessible format and helps us become more efficient and more profit-focused. Now, if you are interested to learn more about the Salesforce dashboard to transform the information from the matrix report into a dashboard, I have an opportunity for you to take advantage of, and that is that I'm running a bootcamp over the next 2 weeks, and I'd like to share a little bit more about this opportunity with you. Now, many of you may be taking courses online, and you may be watching videos on YouTube. But what we know is that some of the most powerful learning exists when we have content and practice. What a bootcamp does is it combines the content of video with the practice of personalized learning with your instructor. And so over the next 2 weeks, I'll be running a bootcamp called Build a Salesforce Dashboard in 6 easy steps. And what I will be doing is, over 2 weeks, you will learn how to build a real-world Salesforce dashboard using summary and matrix reports. You will use simple steps to transform reports into charts for your dashboard, and I will teach you some valuable steps that you can take to make your reporting process so much more efficient. Okay? Now, the most important thing about the dashboard, about the bootcamp, is that it's broken up into 2 weeks. Each 2 weeks has an average of 4 hours of very practical tasks that you will undergo to really learn how to apply the theory of the dashboard. So you will get a free Salesforce license. You will learn what a dashboard is, how it operates. You will design your own dashboard. You will set up your own report. You will filter your fields. You will insert a chart into the report, and you will create your own dashboard. You will leave with a fully functioning dashboard. In your second week, you will then apply what you have learned. Throughout the week, you will be able to engage with your fellow colleagues, with your fellow bootcamp participants, as well as myself, to apply a QRS strategy. I will teach you tricks of the trade as you go through. And by the end of it, you will have a practical-based course ready to go. Now, what do you get? You get one-on-one mentorship throughout this process, okay? You will receive 1 hour of total personalized time with me where we will sit together on Skype and actually learn, and I will be able to answer your questions. You will also be able to access 4 hours of optional group calls where you can ask questions. You will be in a Facebook group where you can ask questions and engage with the content. Now, in addition to that, I'm actually running 2 bootcamps. The first bootcamp starts next week, Monday. It is a 2-week bootcamp and there are 36 seats available for you. The second bootcamp is on the 12th of March, and the admission for next week's bootcamp actually closes next week, Sunday, okay? Now, on completion of this bootcamp, you will get 30 minutes free consultation with me where we can tackle a Salesforce problem or challenge. You will get 30 minutes of free consultation as well as access to a Salesforce course of mine called How to Input Data, Run Reports, and Strategize, worth $200. Now, the cost of this bootcamp is $299. There are 36 seats available, and if you are interested to find out more, please click the link below. mench.co/build a Salesforce dashboard. At this point, I would really love to answer any questions you might have, either about the material related to a matrix report or about the bootcamp that you have just seen. I know that there is one question that I have received, and it relates to the difference between a bootcamp and Udemy or online learning. If this is a question from you, I will be happy to answer that right now. The difference between a bootcamp and Udemy is that Udemy is similar to YouTube in that you can watch videos and sort of learn, but often there is no accountability and no practice-based learning. A bootcamp, however, gives you access to myself, where you'll be able to ask me questions directly. And in addition to that, it is very practical based. You'll be submitting screenshots of your dashboard. You will be creating reports and having a group of students in the bootcamp to ask questions and really have a community. So that is really the difference. It has practice as well as theory combined. And so that's the difference between a Udemy course, for example, which is $10, and a bootcamp, which is $299. That's the key difference. Thank you for that great question. I also have a question here about time. Why is a bootcamp 2 weeks? Great question, thank you. Now, a bootcamp is going to be an average of 4 hours a week, which means that by the end of the week, you would have to have completed those assignments in order to progress. What that does is it creates accountability, okay? And so what you are looking to do is really learn in a way that is very applicable at the time. Often, you will have a 11 to 15 hour Udemy course that you hardly finish because you're sort of leisurely taking the course at your own time. What a bootcamp does is it creates the necessity to really, and the urgency to really complete that course and really learn and apply that knowledge. Thank you for that great question. Okay, any more questions from our group? Please feel free to put them in the comments. I would be happy to answer them, and I really do appreciate this time that you're taking with me here in this Facebook Live event. I have my partner who is passing the questions to me, so if I look away, that is exactly why. Let me see if we have another question. Okay, please take a look in the link. In the comments section, you are likely to see the link to this bootcamp. Feel free to take a look at it. And this webinar will be recorded and posted in the group. So if you want to take a look at it later and run through the steps to create a matrix report, please do so. I am always available to you, and please feel free to reach out to me. I wish you a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you soon in the next webinar. Take care and all the best.